Hey everybody, it's Teresa Morrison. Welcome to iBelieve. We're going to have an amazing broadcast today. I'm super excited. One of the people that the Lord asked me, he asked me, who do you want to interview? And one of the people that I had mentioned was Byron Easterling. And we have the honor to have him here today with us. And I'm super excited to talk to him about his book and to talk to him about some other things that are going on in the kingdom. And so Byron has a book called Dream Big, Dream Often. He also has a devotional called Love Notes from Dad. He lives in Southern California with his beautiful wife named Crystal. I love Crystal. She is such a dear heart. And without further ado, here is Byron. Hey,
Hi.
Byron.
Hi, Teresa.
Welcome, welcome.
Thanks for having me on. It's great. Yeah.
Thank you so much for saying yes to the invitation.
Yeah. Well, this community is so growing so rapidly. It's a very cool thing you've got happening.
It is. And what's so interesting is when I first thought about creating a community, I was thinking about all these names like encounters and God encounters and things that are real kind of churchy. And the Lord said, I want you to name it iBelieve. And I kind of did a head scratch and said, really? It just kind of took me off.
Yeah.
But now I see why. It's just really, what do we believe about ourselves? What do we believe about God? And what's opening up for us to believe even more about what God is for us?
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Super cool. So
Purpose beyond encounter. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am super excited. I read your book and I just thought, oh my gosh, I took a bunch of notes. It made me really think outside of the box, if you will, on things that you had mentioned in the book. And so let's go ahead and talk about passion and permission. Life begins with the green light and ends with the green light. That's a quote from your book. So talk to us about that.
Yeah. So when all this started, I was actually, and I'll tell this story. For me, it all started, Crystal and I were having a meal, a dinner with some friends at their home. And the husband says to me, so you travel around the world and you help people discover their destiny in the future, but you're not doing what you love. Mm-hmm. And his wife says, don't you think that's rather hypocritical? Yeah. And I said, okay, well, I'm glad you're friends. And so as Crystal and I were leaving, we were walking to the truck, and it's like I could tell. As I was putting my hand on the door handle to open the door, I said, "Why? Why am I? What's going on? Why won't I do this? What's inside me that's stopping me?" Mm-hmm. And as I opened the door and sat down in that seat, just this word in bold caps, huge banner letters said fear. You're just afraid. And because afraid of all the things that you could do wrong, the things that, you'll make mistakes on, people will think you're an idiot. Because I was going after something in my early 50s that most people went after in their 20s. And, so it's like, this is really stupid. So I think when I sat down, and this is really important to me, I sat down and Crystal, we just sat there for a minute, and I said, what do you think about all this? And she says, you have to go for this.
Yeah. And
I knew the Lord had already said, you need to go for it, but I needed her also. This was a relational dynamic. I had a lot to change. So I think for me, that permission granted. And then as I just started walking through the journey, I realized, oh my gosh. And again, I go back to, you and I have talked about my mom. My mom to me was a very special woman. And I think most of us think our moms are pretty special, but she gave me permission to dream through my life. And I didn't realize that God had given me that dream, that ability, that permission, you know. I think it was 2005 at the mission in Vacaville. The pastor there, I don't know, he's not pastoring now, but his name's David Crone. Dave, I believe it was the first Sunday of January, stood in the pulpit and said, "You have permission to go after the things that are on your heart." I think we need God's permission, but we got to have people who also. So I think for me, I realized there's a green light. Stop lights, green light, red light, stop light, go, you know. To me, we always have a green light, and the stoplight is simply there to maneuver us into a place of listening or shifting us, because something ahead maybe we didn't see coming. And you know how God works. He shifts our paths in order to get us into the right track. And so for me, that the red light, the stop light, is just there. What we've done is we've taken, and I have to say this, a lot of times we're fearful. We're so fearful of the red light. We're so fearful of that stop light, because it's like, oh, I've been stopped. You know, I've done something wrong. That's like, oh no, I've done something wrong. And the Lord just goes, hey, back off. Let's just settle down a little bit. And I got stopped at a stoplight, and this is where the red light, green light came from. Is I got stopped in my pursuit, and I thought, oh, I'm done.
Yeah.
I never said you were done. I just need you to think about this for a minute. Stop. Just relax. Just relax. And it was like, okay, I can breathe. And then it's like, okay, oh. And then what we do is what we tend to do is stay stuck at that stoplight. Because out of fear that, oh no, there'll be another stoplight. Or, oh no, I've made a mistake, so I don't want to make another. Oh my gosh. I mean, how many mistakes did Israel make? I mean, come on. I think permission granted. I mean, obviously Graham has written, and I think it was Graham wrote together with Gary Goodell. I think maybe they wrote a book together called Permission Granted, back in the kind of 2005 or 10 or somewhere in there. And obviously this is where the book came from, was, you know, Graham said, listen, you need to write about your story. And another permission was granted. I mean, there were so many things along the path. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I have heard Graham say that before, that the light is green until the Lord turns it red, and just to keep going, the light is always green. But sometimes I feel like when we, like you said, when we see a red light, it's like, uh-oh, what happened? When sometimes the Lord just hits the pause button for us to reboot. Maybe we need some rest. Maybe we need to recalibrate and get prepared for the next part of the journey.
Absolutely. That's so vital to enjoy the stoplight.
Yes.
We've not enjoyed the stoplights. We've tended to make the stoplights this thing that we've done something wrong. Or in the wrong. I think the Lord's just going, hey, wait, just wait, because I have something ahead that I need to clear, or I need you to go back to this fork in the road, or whatever it is. It's just re-guiding, recalibrating, as you said. It's just a recalibration, and to get to those dreams, those things that are in our lives, and really pour them out. They're long and sometimes winding roads. And if you think about it, I in my 20s was offered scholarships to university and offers to go on tour in my 20s several times by country clubs, by individuals, by businesses, and I turned them all down, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, so being challenged again, I could have said, "Oh, I blew that. That's over."
Yeah.
So it was a long and winding road for me. Yeah.
So I read in your book where you said that you had those opportunities to play golf and do scholarships and things like that, but you felt like you wanted to serve the Lord in a different capacity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you put that away.
I did. I chose two great paths: golf and music.
Yeah.
My brother was like, "Oh, good choice," and he's very funny. But so yeah, I actually went down the music path for my education and ended up into the worship arena. As far as most, and then was with a group it's now called Crew. Crystal and I were on staff with Crew with their music ministry, traveling and seeing hundreds and hundreds of people come to Christ every year. And that was so much on our hearts. But God kind of got a hold of us and then put us into the worship arena. And I think that was a heart's desire. It wasn't something I loved music. So, and I love to worship. So, did I miss it? No, I didn't miss it.
Right.
I just put one down for another. I think we often have more than one desire or dream in our heart that we want to see and pursue.
Very true. Very true. And now that we're on the green light, tell us how BHH is your nonprofit organization. It's called Build His House. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, and that just, first of all, it's been a journey. I think most nonprofits are. They start out with this great idea, and then God steps in and goes, "Hey, have you considered?" And in 1979, I went on a trip to Guatemala, and I have to tell this story because it applies to everything that BHH is about. Yeah. I wanted. So the first couple nights, you went to someone's home and you stayed with them, right? I said, I want to go to the furthest place in the mountains I can go. And I don't want to be in the city. I don't, I want to go. I want to climb the mountain. La 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 la. So they did. They let me go. And another person, we went together. So while I was in this town, the Guatemalan people, I'm 6'4", basically. I was. I'm now I'm 64, and I'm not 64 anymore. And anyway, their baños are outside and covered with thatch and about this high to me. So, and it faced the main road. So to everybody else from Guatemala, they were shorter, and that wall was perfect for them.
Yeah.
But that day, I'm right here, looking out without any way to hide my white, shiny face, as people came up and down the main road, walking and driving. So within moments of that day, I was the baño gringo who was visiting this family.
Yeah.
So I went into town that next morning to get some sweetbread, and I noticed this woman, an elderly woman, carrying this bundle of sticks. And she would take a few sticks out and get a few. I followed her for quite a while. She intrigued me. I don't know why, but she, it had to be a God thing. Something intrigued me. Mm-hmm. And so she went from home to home. I'm assuming it was kindling for their fires. Mm-hmm. And she would sell that, and then she ran out. And she had her change that she had, and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go off to the sweetbread. And I'm thinking maybe she's going to probably go off to the sweetbread. She probably doesn't speak any English. I speak no Spanish, basically, and I'll never be able to communicate, but I'd at least like to say hello. She doesn't. She winds her way back to the poorest area of that town, where the kids are malnourished and without anything, just playing in the dirt. Their life was fine for them, but for us, it was the first time I'd seen that out in person.
Yeah.
And she walks up to these kids, and they knew her. And she takes some coins out of her, out of her coat pocket, and she begins to hand little bits to those kids. And it just broke me. I said, so I went back to our family, and I said, who is this woman? Mm-hmm. I call her Esperanza. That's not her real name, but I call her that because she's hope to those kids. Yeah. And they said she's a widow from the mountains, and she comes down and sells. And God at that moment just bent my heart towards the widow. And BHH is all about creating excellent housing, really for widows and single mothers. I was really challenged on the single mothers issue in our day and age. Yeah. Now, right now we're in Nicaragua, and we rebuild their homes.
Wow.
So that's BHH, Build His House, is all about building those homes. So they have a safe and secure place. That's the big thing. They have a safe and secure place for the rest of their lives. Their roof isn't going to cave in. Their walls aren't going to fall down. They'll actually have concrete floors. They'll actually have walls in their homes. Anyway, that's what we want for these women. Yeah.
That is so beautiful. And I see the emotion rising in you, which means that's really a great passion for you, that you share that heart space with the Lord for them.
Yeah. Well, it is a mandate. I mean, there's mandates people always say, how do you find the will of God? Well, it's real simple. Care for the widow and the orphan and the stranger. Heal the sick, raise the dead. I mean, it's real simple. It's we don't have to look far for the will of God.
Yeah. So if anyone that's listening wants to contribute to that, what is your website where it explains?
Yeah, you can HHHinternational.com. HHHinternational.com. Yeah.
That is so awesome. I saw some pictures that you posted, and I bet that you have relationships now with is it a village that you're working with in particular in Nicaragua right now?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Is it a village that you're working with, a specific people that you see the same people over and over in a certain village?
Well, we went to one pastor to start with, and he gave us the names of 15 women that needed their homes rebuilt.
Nice.
And so right now we're in a village called Sor Maria in the town of Matagalpa. Matagalpa is a mountain town in Nicaragua, and Sor Maria it's the poorest of the poor. So and they are they're feisty.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're tough.
Awesome. I think I spoke to you a while back, a long time ago, one time at one of the conferences, and I was telling you that I had traveled through Central America, through Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador in a vehicle. My mom lived in El Salvador for 25 years, and so I got the privilege to travel through and really see different parts and it's a different way of life. So in terms of dreaming, do you find that these women dream? Are they dreaming with God? Are they dreaming for their lives to become better? Sometimes when you're raised, you don't know anything else. You don't know how it is to live any other way. Like the children, when you see them playing, well, they don't know what a video game is to sit inside. They need their own games outside.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Do you find that with these widows?
Okay, so the first house we did, her name's Regina, and all these women are we find them through the pastors, because that's the best way for us to discover them. I'm not saying there's other women not need or in fact deserving of it. I'm just saying we have to find them somehow. So we start with our relationships. And so Regina, we met Regina and we rebuilt her home. Literally the walls of her home were being held up by a tree of about a stump of a tree about 3 inches in diameter. That was it. So it was soon to fall in. They had built her roof like this. And so that over her kitchen, she had a gutter in her kitchen that all the water fell into a big, it's just like, what? Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, there was no dreaming. There was just like, what am I going to do if my house falls in? And that's what we find at first. Then on this trip back, we stopped by to see Regina and sit in her new living room and talk with her. And she said, I have this table over here and I'm going to start a neighborhood store.
Oh, that's awesome. She's
like,
dreaming.
Yes.
She's dreaming.
She's dreaming. Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think a lot of them, I think moms and, widows who still have maybe children there that they just can't afford to help mom. It's not like our country. And I think their dream is for their children to have a better life.
Yes.
But when Regina said, I'm going to start a little store, I was like, that was so cool. That was so cool.
It's so cool. That is so cool. So let's go ahead and jump into the book. I'm super excited. We're going to talk about 3 keys that you talk about in your book. The first key is the change equation. The second one is moving day. The third one is developing a dream culture. So let's talk about the change equation.
Yeah. Well, very simply, I realized that in order for me to go after my dream, and for anybody to go after a dream, I created this little equation. And it's basically your dissatisfaction has to be greater than the cost.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's going to be a cost. I mean, I think that's what we don't. We get into this mindset that says, oh, I'm going to dream, yay. And then all of a sudden the cost factor hits. Okay. My first cost factor was not money. It was getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, because I'm not a morning guy. I'm a late night guy. But I still had ministry life. I still had travels to do. I was still traveling in ministry and speaking. And I had to get to the gym because I've been, not at the gym. and to fulfill and become a professional athlete, you have to better yourself that way. And I'm like 6 o'clock in the morning. That's like, oh, dark, stupid. And I'm like, I'm going to the gym at dark. What is this? I mean, this is seriously wrong. And there were things like that I had to do. And so I had to weigh that balance.
Yeah.
I had to go, do I want it that bad? That my dissatisfaction internally is greater than the cost I'm going to have to pay. Then that equals change. That for me, that's the equivalent of change.
That is so good. That's so good. In the quote from your book, it said, are you dissatisfied enough in your present situation that your courage will rise up and move beyond the fear of cost?
That's good.
That's good. All you. That's really true, because our dissatisfaction, whether it's a job, place in life, you have to be so dissatisfied that it propels you forward. It's got to be a forward-moving force to get you beyond the cost of what it's going to take.
Yeah, and it will cost something.
Yeah.
I always say, the thing you'll pay for, the thing you're willing to go beyond the cost is the thing that you'll get up before your alarm goes off.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's like you're already up, ready to go. It's like you're already, I'm there. I'm after it, you know? Yeah.
So dreams are kind of like the same thing. Sometimes you go to bed thinking about it. The first thing that you think about is something that God has put on your heart to become or to do. And it's like, it's just so, it has life, you know?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
That's really good. The change equation. I love that because you can rediscover your dreams.
Well,
So,
yeah, I think you're able to, I think when you're going through, it's also a good checkpoint. Am I willing to pay the cost on this? Because if not, then really, truly, it's okay.
yeah.
I think we need to give ourselves, again, permission to say, wow, I'm not there on this yet. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, don't beat yourself up over it. Just realize that. Communicate that to yourself. Communicate that to the Lord. Just, I'm not there yet. Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't realize what the cost is until you actually take the steps to go in. It's like,
oh no, yeah. There were a lot of costs along the way.
Oh God. My husband says something really funny. He said, sometimes the Lord takes you with the carrot like this, with the holding, and then he turns it around and goes, well, it feels like that. Is that feels like that? Good. It's so worth the cost. There's grace for that cost.
Yes. Yeah, big time grace. Yeah. Yeah, even because we're gonna, we're just gonna bumble into some of it and just, trip over ourselves. And that's good times.
Yeah. I mean, if the Lord were to tell us, okay, this is, a dream that we share together, and here's the list of costs. Do you want to go first?
I can't imagine myself even stepping out, much less that. Because I know that every battle I win, I'm taking a step upwards. So I'm taking that move up and conquering something bigger than I've been able to conquer before. So, to imagine myself on the first tee box of my first professional event, I had to say, that's what I'm going for. I never experienced it. So when I stood on that tee box and my caddy says, just relax and do what you do, I was like, yes, I just want to get it off the tee box and out there somewhere, because you're just the first shot. I'll never forget the first shot of my first professional event. I'll never forget. How can I? It was the most nerve-wracking. I was just hoping when I teed the ball into the ground, the ball wouldn't fall off several times and I'd, stumble over myself. Well, there's a new guy.
It's so funny. And it's so worth paying whatever the cost is, because at the end of the day, it's going to affect other people, in God. Even if it's, secular job, you're meeting people and those are assignments on your path. So
absolutely. I was sitting on the driving range, just working away. And again, like you said, you don't seem like an introvert, Byron, but I am. Again, my mom, thanks, Mom. And she taught me well, but she knew me well. And when I get in that mode, I'm focused. I just want to work. I'm working and I'm practicing and all of a sudden I noticed these guys, like 7, 8 guys just had left their spots and were watching. And I knew one of them. And so I turned and I said, what are you doing? And I literally said, leave me alone. and I said, I'm working here. Do you get it? Like, oh no, there's just something. I don't know. I came over and then a friend of mine came over and all of a sudden guys just started gathering and they were just watching. And it was so interesting because at that moment, God opened up an understanding to me that was so cool, because it was like when you pursue that desire of your heart, when that Psalms 37:4, that moment of saying, when we delight in Him. You know that verse 37:4, when we delight in the Lord, it says, delight in the Lord and He will grant or give you the desire of your heart. That word grant is a legal term. It's literally God writing a law to himself, saying when we delight in him, in the things that are him, in the things that he's placed in us, he is designed himself that he must give us the desire of his heart, of our hearts. That's powerful.
That is.
He basically said, that word, I believe it's a Hebrew word, I think, that basically it's grant. It's a legal term. And he's saying, listen, buddy, you delight in me. I'm going to write a law to myself legally that says I will grant you the desires of your heart. And I realized at that moment, what they were seeing was the desire of my heart. They were being moved, not by my golf. It was part of it, right? Yeah. Because that was part of the whole thing. But it's whatever is on that, it will draw people to it because it's God ordained. It's something in you that has to come out. And people, whether or not, it doesn't matter what it is. It's who you are and how you are in God and how he has planted this in you. It's so cool.
That is.
I'm walking across, can I tell you another story?
Yeah.
So I'm walking across the street of this golf course. This golf course, you have to cross the road a couple times to get to different holes. And I'm walking across to this big truck stops right in the middle of it, and he rolls down his window. Now, this is when I was first starting. The journey. And this guy, he rolls down his window, he's a truck driver, and he yells at me, he says, "Hey, do I know you?" And I said, "What?" And I said, "Hey, have I seen you on TV? Are you a professional golfer?" And I mean, I was just starting. I mean, it was like, I got inside, I felt like such a little peon. I just felt like this, and the reality is that this man out of nowhere saw God's destiny and design on my life at that moment and called it out publicly.
Yeah.
He didn't know. I didn't know him. He's from not even, and then he drives off. And I'm walking to the next tee going, what just happened?
Yeah.
The desire of my heart. And God ordains these things to be released on the earth.
That is so awesome. What a great story. I love that. God will just send someone out of left field to just something over you. That's awesome.
And we need it.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. Let's talk about moving day. What stays and what goes. So, another quote from Byron. Book is, what will be able to stay? What needs to transition slowly? What needs to simply let go of? And what needs to be tossed in the bin? So let's talk about that.
Well, moving day, just real briefly, of course, is, I always look at it as if you're buying new furniture in your home, you don't bring in the new furniture and put it on top of your old furniture.
Right.
You have to move something out. In dreaming something and fulfilling that destiny, that desire of your heart, fulfilling that identity, that individual identity in God, not the big general picture of identity in God, but that thing he's created in you, the good works he's created in you. Those things to me are, he's got to bring in new furniture, which means some stuff, this is how I look at it. If you have a really nice couch, imagine whatever that couch is for you, and you go, I like the old couch, but I really want this new one. But I love this old couch, but they both don't fit. Right. So I'm going to take the old couch out, and first off, I have options, okay? So what was the first one? What stays?
Yeah.
Well, that couch couldn't stay if I'm going to upgrade into something new. But, so what am I going to do with it now? I've got options. I can take it out the door and set it on the curb and give it away for free. Otherwise, what I carried before, I have the right to give away. to somebody, right?
Good.
Yeah, I have the right, I have the capacity to give that away. And so I have a choice here. You know, a lot of if you're in church, where do you think couches come from in the youth room? Somebody had a moving day, and they moved the old couch out, and they walk through and they see that couch and you go, I remember that couch. We had such great family times on that couch, or whatever. And so you gave something away that encourages, blesses, and builds up that next thing in that person, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are moments that it's just not worth keeping. It's too frayed. It's lived its life to the fullest.
Yeah.
And it's just time to walk it to the bin and say, you have served me well. And I think in pursuing dreams and the desires of our heart, that's the toughest one.
Yeah.
Because we look at something and we go, yeah, but it was so much of God at that moment in my life. And that's where it cautions us. We go, oh, I don't want to throw something away that's God, because I don't know this couch is great, but I don't know what it's going to feel like in the long run. I know what this feels like. You get it? You can see where I'm going? Yeah. It's this couch. It's like, we love that couch, but it's so old. It's so beat up. We really need to get rid of it. And it's like that thing, that shift in our, again, that's another change equation. It costs to get rid of some things in our lives.
Yes.
If we're going to fulfill that. Graham says on his quote something about when he first wrote about the book. He said, Byron is a dreamer who has a pragmatic, because look at it basically, because I want people to go full after their desires and those things on their hearts, but I don't want them to walk in blind, because if they walk in blind, they're gonna get hit, and then they're gonna back off. And it's not time for that. It's time to step in and press through, which, if I could be so bold, brings us to that third point, which is what I call dream team. Mm-hmm. Building a dream culture.
Yes.
And that is, of those three, that's the one that's going to cause that identity to truly leap forward, is when you have people involved in your life. More than just yourself.
Right.
Is that okay if I jump in?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Tell us exactly what a dream culture is.
Well, it started for me when I realized that in the golf world, boring to most people, I know, but mostly people watch golf on Sunday afternoons to sleep. But there really anything. What I realized is that I had a swing coach, otherwise people to help me work on my swing to make it better. I had a club maker. I had somebody who actually made the clubs for me, and I had to find that person. I spent time looking for that person. I had sponsors, people who sponsored me, what I was doing. I had these different people, and at first I would just take anybody. I was like, you're interested? You're interested. I was like, yay, you're interested. Somebody's interested. And it's, if you ever talk to somebody who's planted a church or started a church, they have more elders than they do people sitting in the pew, or they have more people, because they need that support. They need that support. And that's really what it comes down to. Dream culture, but it's twofold. It's a win-win. It has to be, for me, it has to be a win-win situation.
Yeah.
I can get away with it for a while, only having them win on my behalf. You know what I'm saying? Only be for me. But after a while, it's kind of I don't care for it. It's like I needed the win-win situation. I needed people that I could help build their dream.
Yes.
And they could help build mine. So a dream culture to me is gathering the people, and they come out of the weirdest places. They are not the people you will expect. Most of them will not be. I mean, the true dream builders, the true dream, people that are for you, that don't doubt you when you're at your lowest.
Yeah.
You know that. We know that. But in pursuing those destinies, those identities that are so personal to us, man, I tell you, we need people who just go, who aren't afraid to go. I mean, obviously, Crystal has always been one of those to me, and she was during that season, and she would just, are you doing that? You said you were going to do that. No, I'm not doing that. Why aren't you doing that? She would hold me accountable to what I said I would do, and it was, people, all my team were like that. Everybody on my dream, in that dream culture, were like that for me. They would come out, and my swing coach would go, why aren't you doing this? I thought we had worked on that. Oh, I went back to the old way. Yeah. Why did you go back to the old way? Let's talk about that. It was challenging me. And they were pressing me to press past where I'd been, to get rid of the old couch, to bring in the new couch. Anyway.
That is just really good. And if someone doesn't have a dream culture right now, so I would imagine it would start by asking the Lord to highlight those people to you. And like you said, it's not a one-sided relationship. Yeah. You're adding to them and you're challenging them. In other words, I don't know who the author was that said, a friend knows the song in your heart.
Right. Yeah.
When you forget the words. So they say, hey, where are you with that? But it's reciprocal. So they do that with you too. So what's a good starting place for those that are listening, just to ask the Lord?
Well, I think that's always the best place, because he has the best avenues to guide and direct people into your life, obviously. Yeah. But I think if you truly want a win-win situation, then ask them what their dream is.
Yes. Yeah.
Find the people who want to hear your dream but want to share their dream. Yeah. I think it's because what happens is you'll get people pleasers, and we don't need when you're going after something like this. Yeah. You don't, whatever it is in your life, because it's bigger than where you've been before, and it's what he's placed within you. It's within your very spiritual DNA. It's a part of your physical DNA. You can't separate out those two things. You can't say, oh, here's my spiritual DNA and here's my physical DNA, and go, God created them together, and so I would often say, hey, learn about them, meet them, talk to people. If they show any interest, oh yeah, what's on your heart? Yeah. And start building a win-win situation from the beginning with people. And I found quickly, I had a club maker, and he was all excited about helping me. And I would start talking to him about him, and it was just a disconnect. And I said, I don't connect with this guy at all. And I'm like, why don't? He's a great club maker. And then I find this guy somewhere else, and it's like out of the blue. And, I've just been saying, Lord, I need a club maker. I got to have somebody that really believes in what I'm doing. Yeah. And I got to know that I can promote this guy and what he's doing. And really, it's a team. And he saw that. And anyway, so yeah, that's dream culture to me is huge. And I'll just say this last for me. Last night, I literally had a dream about team. And there are two people and myself in the dream, and one of them walked up and handed me this little, it would be a gigantic sticky note. and I don't remember the exact words, but it's do nothing without team. And that's what I remember on the do nothing without team. And I realized that, and I woke up immediately. We do a lot in our dreams, wake up after those things, because he's setting them. That's what, when you wake up after a dream, he's setting those into place. And it's solidifying them in our physical world, and
right.
not just our sleeping world. And that's a vision. In fact, he calls them visions in the night, and I think that's not being awake in vision. That's a vision in your spiritual being. And so for me, that last night, that vision in this, it's a vision in a dream, basically, and it's saying, I realized this wasn't just for me.
Yes.
This is where we're entering a season right now where team is so vital to the things that we're doing and the things we're going after, no matter what it is.
Yes.
We've talked about it for so many years. Yeah, team, there's no I in team.
Right.
How many memes have we had with that? And that's okay, but it's just like, he's setting us into, he takes us into a mental place, right? And a spiritual place. We need this. Okay, we're praying about this. And then we move ever closer to a place where we go, I've got to have it. And I think that's what he was saying with that last night, is it's important for us to realize team is truly vital. It can't be just a language. It has to be legit. It has to be real.
That's so good, Byron, because we knew that we were going to have this live today, and the Lord gives you a dream about team. And I really feel that there's people in our community. I mean, iBelieve is a community of people, but people that you can sit in front of, that you can build your life with, and they know the song in your heart, they know the dreams, and they challenge you. Yeah. And so I really, really just declare over you that are watching that God will bring those people into your lives, and they will really help propel you into your dream. And so I just declare that over you. If you're watching, whether the replay or live, I just declare that over you, that you will create a dream team, and God will bring those people specifically for the dream that he's placed in your heart. So I declare that over you, and just receive it wherever you are right now. I just, if God showed us that, then that's really a highlighted word, that we will look into that, and to find people that are genuinely interested in our dream, and we are genuinely interested in where God has for them, the dream that's in their heart, because encouragement is huge.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yes.
Such an underrated gift.
It is, because a lot of times life speaks the opposite to us, and we really need, like David encouraged himself in the Lord.
Yeah.
We encourage ourselves in the Lord, but how much more when we're part of that team of people, whether it's 2 people, whether it's another person, whether it's 12. I mean, only God knows. And I really like what you said, that a lot of times the Lord you think, well, I want this person. Maybe this person could be, part of that. But God will bring someone that's just totally someone who was not highlighted, and that's the person that really could sing back that song that's in your heart and remind you of who you are in the days that you forget.
Yeah. And, I can go back to those people. God took me out of that arena after an injury that I was unable to at that point, unless it was him healing me. That was the end of that season, and that was okay. Difficult, but okay. And I can go back to those people, and it's still, because of the depth of our team, because of heart to heart, I can go back, and it's friendship. It's bigger now than just,
Yeah, that's really good. That's good. So in our we've got 10, 15 minutes left. I do want to touch on these because they're so important. I love these points. And like I said, I got so much reading your book. So we're going to talk about 3 types of dreamers. And we're going to talk about risk takers, regretters, and repressed dreamers. And so let's start with the risk takers. And we know what a risk taker is, but we want to hear it from you. What's the definition of a risk taker?
Well, the easiest way is when I first started writing about these three that were highlighted in my world, is that they became Winnie the Pooh characters. I can't write about that because you have to have a permission to use that. It's a very expensive process. So I thought, okay, but yeah. So to me, who would be the risk taker in the Winnie the Pooh is Tigger. Tigger bounces wherever he goes. He bounces everywhere he goes. And he's just willing to step out. Risk takers automatically have it built into them. Now, I think there's a lot of risk takers are, again, and it's not a personality. You look at men and women in the business community who have created such amazing things, who took great risks. I mean, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, there's a couple of guys right there who took great risk. Here's one, Joan of Arc. She took some pretty big risk, and I don't. If you did her personality, I think they've tried to create a personality type, and I think she was introverted, and I think Steve and those guys are probably very introverted people. I don't know them personally, but these are not personality types. These are not introverts or extroverts. You can be introverted and be a repressed dreamer. You can be, an extrovert and be a repressed dreamer. It has nothing to do with that. This is far different. So risk takers are very, they just love to go after stuff. Now the risk taker, there's a problem with risk takers. Risk takers will today take a risk on this, but tomorrow we'll take a risk on this. And tomorrow we'll take, you get it? There's this, so risk takers need to step back. It's not, the risk taker is by far much easier to go after a dream, but to hang on to that dream, because tigers love to bounce wherever they go. So they bounce from here to here to here to here to here. So, and then you have your regressed dreamers. Regressed are, to me, the rabbits. Rabbit in the Winnie the Pooh series. If you notice, she was always concerned and always, is everything going to be okay? And she kind of stood on the side and watched everything pass her by. And there's a sidebar in here for me on this. In this season, I believe God is calling women into a place to really step out. I think we as men have to give you that space, but women, you have to take it. It's a give and take. It is both, but there is a season right now, to me, where God is just pouring out on women to step into a higher, to that authority, that place. We are co-equals. When it talks about strength, this is not a weakness. This is a mass concern. There's not many women that can push over a 220-pound, 6'4" guy without a little effort, I'm not saying there aren't. I'm just saying it's, to me, that's a mass issue. The weakness is not in our minds and our spirit. That is not what it talks about in Scripture.
Right.
And God is raising up women and giving authority to women. I know this is a total different topic, but it goes to that repressed dreamer. We have to, as men, give you the space to take that is yours, that we have held off for who knows how long. But I want to encourage and challenge the women to step and take a hold of that. To me, it's extremely important that both do our part in this season, because God is doing so much with that. And so anyway, that's way off the side, but so important in that part right now. And repressed dreamers generally have been risk takers who got kind of slammed and got fearful and took a side road and said, well, that's for somebody else. They'll take care of it. And repressed dreamers are the most, to be honest, they're the most heartfelt to me, because they feel like they've never had a dream. And that could be because their families didn't encourage it. They weren't in a situation that encouraged it. They didn't have that kind of background to be in, to release anything or to sense or feel anything. And then they have a big hurdle to jump. Regressed dreamers, to be honest, mostly just need a good, swift kick. I mean, with love.
Yeah.
They just need somebody, that's all. They just need somebody to say, hey, you really have this on your heart. I'm for you. I'm for you.
You can do it.
Repressed dreamers they feel like they've never had anything. They don't own anything.
Yeah.
I found out there are a lot more out there than I thought. See, I could never imagine that.
Yeah, because you said in your book that growing up, you were kind of introverted and your family was strong leadership, go-getter type of, so there was a lot of dreaming in your home. There was a lot of, there's nothing impossible, go do it, and I think I talked to you before we started, and I told you that I realized while reading your book that I didn't start dreaming until I became a Christian.
Yeah,
and I was 30 years old. So on July 16th, 1998, I had an encounter with God. I'll never forget it, obviously. And but before that, I just didn't have any dreams. That was not fostered in me as a kid.
Yes, right.
What do you want to be when you grow up? Or having teachers around you that'll prompt, wow, I really see this in you and these qualities. I just never had that. So when you come into the team, the community of believers, you go in automatically to a family of dreamers and believers.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, this is cool. I can dream. What can I dream that God can come and do in Ephesians 3:20 and do far beyond what I can dream? So I really found a lot of multifaceted colors and emotion and dreaming. It was just like, wow, this is awesome.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, it would make sense. I'd love to see the correlation of that and actually, how they do the I don't know what, some kind of thing where they show the mind and what's triggered.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do. But what changed in you after you came to the Lord, after you met him, encountered him, and then began to dream what God opens up here, as well. Because a lot of that is in our mind. We shut our mind down, and some things are never opened up. And that's what happened. Something got opened up in you that was like, oh my God, there's a whole new world.
The angel thing. So let's talk to the iBelieve community, and let's talk to the ones that feel like they don't really have dreams, or perhaps they feel like they've missed their window in dreaming. What would you say to this community?
Well, I think for me, there is another story. I'm a story guy, so that's life for me. I was speaking about the book at an event, and I had a young lady. She was probably in her early to mid 30s. A family. She came up to me after I had spoken. The first thing she said was, "I hate you," and I said, "Well, okay, great." And she hated me because she felt like she had never had a dream. And I was talking about jumping in the dream pool and getting, all that kind of stuff, and being a part of the League of Dreamers and all this stuff. And she wasn't angry at me, of course. She was hurting. And I said to her, so here's the deal. What do you want to do right now?
Yeah.
And she immediately responded and said, that's not a dream. I said, just tell me, what would you love doing right now? And she has a family. I think it was 3 children and her husband. So a lot of times that's 4 children. In my case, anyway, that would be an extra child on my. And, so I said, what would you love to do right now? What would you love to do? And she said, well, to be honest, it's not a dream, but I would love to just I would go to a bookstore or coffee shop. I would have a coffee. I would get books and magazines. And I would just be by myself all day. So I said, is that your husband? And I called him over and I said, would you do this for your wife? Would you take a day off of work and let her do that? And he said, oh yeah, absolutely. I would do that. So I said, when you go, I want you to email me sometime after and let me know how it went. And I got an email maybe several months later. And she said, I went to a Borders bookstore when they used to have Borders. And she found a little corner nook and got her coffee and some magazines and books. And she said she sat down and just relaxed. And it was so, she knew she didn't have to go anywhere. She didn't have to answer the phone. She didn't la, la, la. And she said, within 15 to 20 minutes, something rose in my spirit. She was an artist and she loved to do art, but it was always just a personal thing. But she said this in her email. She wrote that something had been dwelling in the back of my mind that it was like an idea. And I thought it was just the goofiest idea and no one would respond. And it was just, that's not a dream. That's just me thinking. Right. See, that's the key. That's just me thinking. Yeah, hello. And she said, I had this dream. I had this idea. She said, she didn't call it a dream. I had this idea that I wanted to teach neighborhood kids art on a Saturday morning. So I tried it. And she said, the moms would bring the kids over and they'd sit in my kitchen and have coffee and chat while I did a half-hour art class. And it's totally affecting the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it was an idea. It was the simplest. It started with a challenge. I became a part of her dream culture at that moment. Yeah. See how important dream culture is? I was not concerned about whether she hated me or not. In fact, I was kind of encouraged because I'm like, ooh, something to resolve here. And so for me, that's that hope that it was just saying, take the thing that's in front of you and pursue that. And if it's the simplest thing that you say that has nothing to do with dreaming or identity in God, that has nothing to do with that, how do you know? How do you know? Can you go back to this woman and say that wasn't good? No, she was so grateful that I challenged her into that her husband took the time off of work, that she could just hide away in a corner nook at a bookstore and be spoken to by the Father. Give yourself space to do something that you feel is out of your normal space, that you long to do. A lot of people go, boy, I wish I could just, it's my bucket list. Well, find one of your bucket list things then. It doesn't have to be grandiose. It just has to open you to a place to hear God in that place. Because in there, He's planted from eternity past. From the beginning, He planted in you something so unique and so privileged that He would give that to you. That's personal. That's there's it's you. It's how the world sees you. It's what makes you you. Hey, snowflake.
That's good. Gosh, that is good. We covered a lot of ground. Thank you so much for joining us. I really want to have you back because I want to talk about the new era, and that's what God is doing in the kingdom, and that would take the whole time.
That
we
would
discuss that. Last week we discussed that, and boy, I just love the vision that you have in that, and what you shared with us today is just amazing. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. And for those of you that are watching, just thank you so much for joining us. And, there is permission to dream. And like I had mentioned earlier, Ephesians 3:20, that God will do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ask or even think to ask. So today, we just give you permission to dream big dreams and to go one step at a time. Like Byron said, sometimes it's just one step, and then pretty soon other steps come in, and a whole new territory opens up for us. It opens up for us in the realm of dreaming. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time, Byron.
Appreciate it.